No,
Did we mention in Discord when we were starting?
I've mentioned it multiple times, but I mean, what are you going to do?
I mean, about with the Tuesday stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mentioned it. I mentioned it multiple times. Tuesday, it's gone with the wind, as the song goes. Yeah. Tuesday's gone with the wind. We should do a show where we just sing.
No, we probably shouldn't do that.
Remember that episode we did where we did like we played DJ, we played musical games, but none of those games involved us doing any musical singing during the show.
Well, it's because we have no musical talent.
That would be. I disagree.
You think I have
a lot of people?
Talent?
A lot of people. I played baritone, trumpet.
Aaron, you don't even remember the name of the instrument you played.
Oh, I played baritone and trumpet. Plus, a lot of people think I've got an excellent singing voice.
It's okay.
What do you mean? Really?
Yeah.
You think it's okay?
I think it's okay.
Man, and there's no one here to see that. That sucks.
I don't remember. I don't remember saying that.
Damn, our lack of popularity has screwed me again.
So Sunday we go bowling.
Sunday.
Did you read about this on the Discord?
No, I didn't know. I had no idea. So you guys went bowling as a family?
Yeah, we for Jennifer's birthday.
Oh,
we
okay.
Went bowling.
Where'd you go, by the way?
Town and Country.
Is that the okay? Oh, yeah. Of course. It's not like there's a lot of choices.
It's either that or Strike Zone.
The place is the place in Jefferson back in action? Or
I have no idea. I've never been there in my entire life.
Really?
Yeah.
I've been to that one a bunch of times.
Oh, no. It's
between Jefferson and Dunbar.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Are they back in action?
I think they are, but I don't go there.
Hi, guys. Yeah, special Tuesday start time because of Brent's birthday party. Go ahead, Brent.
So we go. I haven't. One of my future son-in-laws was like, man, I haven't been bowling in like 5 years. Yeah. I was like, buddy, I haven't been bowling since before you were born.
I haven't been born since before you were bowling.
So, yeah, I get out there, and I've never been a good bowler. I usually am in the 150 range on a good day.
That's pretty good for a schlub.
On a good day, I'm about 150. And I told him I'm only bowling one game.
One game. You're in for one because of your various bodily needs.
Well, right.
Yeah.
I did
bad
not,
knees, bad back.
Well, no. Actually, I don't have bad anything.
Yeah,
I've just been fat and lazy.
Your whole body's bad.
So I get up there, and for the first 4 frames, I'm bowling like this.
Like you worship the
devil.
That's
right. Horns up, all that good stuff. Because I can throw it with a lot of power straight like that.
Right.
I was like, you know what? I never did that when I bowled. So I went back to bowling like this.
You're supposed to use 3 fingers.
I am. These 3 fingers. So I can put spin on the ball.
Yeah.
So I started that on frame 4.
Yeah.
On frames 4 through 10, I got 9 pins every time.
Right.
Just 9 pins.
Short of the big one.
And not like, oh, I got 2 pins and then 7 pins. It was always 9 pins, missed the spare. 9 pins, missed the spare. At first, I was like, ha, 9 again. Yeah. And then I was like, God, that 9 again. And then on your 6th time, and I'm calling my shots.
Yeah.
I'm like, leaving the 7, woo! Left the 7 pin. Leaving the 10. I was like, I'm gonna mix it up. I'm leaving the 5 pin. Woo! Leave the 5 pin. It was ridiculous.
So you weren't leaving the same pin.
No. It was
just a random crazy shot.
It was because I was getting.
How many pins were you knocking down when you were using the Satan roll?
Bad.
So
less than 9.
So
we'll leave it at that.
I understand. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
So I although it was still in the first 4 frames 1 and 2, I got 9 pins.
Yeah.
10 total, and 3 and 4 I got 9 pins. So I ended with a multiple of 9 after throwing many 9s. So I don't know what this says about my bowling, except that I don't want to bowl no more. I'm a 9 average pin bowler.
So what was your? Because that's a bad score.
72.
Yeah, that's a real bad score.
Yeah, 72.
And that was your only effort.
Yeah, but we had a good time. Fun was had by all. They brought the baby, the granddaughter.
I get it, Rob.
Little thing. We weren't 100% sure how well she was going to do.
Yeah.
She ate and then slept the entire time. Good baby.
So on a normal bowling trip, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Because you don't participate. Oh, what's up, guest Steve? Good to see you. Good to see you, Uncle Larry and Rob.
So it was a fun outing, and then on Monday, yesterday, we actually had Jennifer's birthday party.
Yeah.
Where we had the cake, and so it's been a nerve-wracking, because anytime you plan craft like this for other people, you never know how it's going to go over.
Yeah,
you don't
especially
know
given the circumstances of this year.
But everything went very well.
Very good.
So I'm very happy.
That's dandy. That's dandy. You know, it's funny, when I went bowling last was with the boys. The Chud, Good Matt, Luke. You know, we all went bowling.
Oh, so okay. It hasn't been that far
Boat may or may not have went with us for that one. But our bowling games are more like it's attrition. It's not really score. It's who's the last man that can walk without limping to the car.
Who's willing to say, yeah, I'm in for another game.
Hey, happy. I had my knee go out on me. My knee's a funny thing now. Pat told me, my knee was all jacked. I could barely walk. It just happened one night. I don't know what happened. And so for a long time, my knee was jacked. You'd see me limping around.
Oh, yeah.
I no-sold it eventually.
No, you didn't.
No, I did. And so now the knee, my knee doesn't hurt, but if I'm set for a while, I get up, kind of have to warm the knee up like a car.
That's called being old, man.
Well, I know, but Pat told me, he goes, I knew a guy who had knee problems. I think it was Pat that told me this. And the doctor, after months and months, the doctor's like, he went to the doctor's like, what's going on with this knee? He goes, listen, your knee's fine.
Oh, can I guess what it is?
What is it?
Is it something to do with the vein?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
It's something to do with your mind. Because your mind has been so used to your knee being jacked up that you just sort of walk around like a goof. And so I keep thinking that. So I try to get myself in the right mind space to walk around.
Let me refrain that
What's
a little
up, Double A?
Because when you say it like that, it sounds like complete crap.
Yeah.
What they're saying is when your knee is hurt, you walk differently to not favor the knee.
That's right.
And then when you get better, you're still walking, not favoring the knee.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it was.
That causes a lot of problems because your tendons and stuff start to be, that's your normal, and that's bad.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. What's up, Boater? Hey, Boat, I can't remember. Did you go bowling with us last time we went? I can't remember if you went or not. But
speaking of which, you told me to remind you about the video.
Oh, I got it. I got it queued up here. No problems. But the boys want to go. The Luke loves the bowl. He wants to go bowling again, and so I think I'm gonna go ahead and risk it and give it another shot. Maybe I'll bowl left hand.
Well, let me tell you, Aaron. The first time I got up there, I'm a 5-step approach guy. All right.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a 5-step approach guy now. I'm now a shuffle and throw ball real hard guy.
Yeah, you're like Hose. That's what Hose does.
As soon I went up there the first time, I took 5 steps, and I only made it about halfway to the line. But it was too late. I still had to throw the ball.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was like, I slammed into the gutter as hard as I possibly could. It just kind of trickled down. I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's not good.
Well, it's funny. There was a time where I was quite a good bowler. Let me rephrase that. There was a time where I was an okay bowler. I could bowl pretty well. And I had the same approach for years, and people mocked it, but it worked for me. My twinkle toes approach, it worked for me. Because I developed it under the tutelage of Rich's dad, who was a semi-pro bowler. And there was even a brief time where I had the hook shot, spun it in. But that time has long passed. If you don't use that, it's gone, And I'm still, every once in a while, I'll have a flash of brilliance. But I think what gets me now is, for me, bowling is 100% mental. It's not until I get to maybe my third game, it gets a little more physical. But for me, it's mental. And it's a lot like when I used to play chess. I was a pretty decent hand at chess, but mentally I break down every time. And bowling's the same way.
I would love to play you at any time at chess. I love chess. I never get a play.
Thank you, Chad. I appreciate that. They're killing me here. Yeah, the chat. They're killing me.
Oh, chat.
Yeah, they're killing me.
I noticed, because usually when you bowl, if you keep throwing it in the gutter, it's because you're bringing your arm back and then throwing it across your body.
Yeah.
To prevent myself from doing that, I know I look like the biggest idiot when I bowl. Much like your twinkle toes, I'm so far lean to the side
Yeah.
when I let go of the ball, it looks like it's going to just die. Like, it looks like I'm throwing it right into the right-hand gutter.
Yeah.
But I have enough spin not to cut back in to the pins. I can't throw it that hard. Never been able to throw it that hard. But I have enough spin on the ball to make it not go to the right any longer and then go straight.
Thank you, Uncle Larry. That's a valid fact. It wasn't too long ago either I could do that. I've learned over the years to take a lot. I was never a real hard thrower, and I always used for a long time I was a medium thrower with a light ball.
Right.
And now I'm a light thrower with a heavier ball. That's what I do now. I'm more of an aimer than I am anything else.
That was the other problem. I got there slightly late, which is totally not me. I'm literally
You're an hour early getting here tonight.
Yeah, I'm virtually never late. But there was a little bit of mix up my communication, not anyone else's. So I didn't choose my own ball.
Yeah.
I was just using one that was on the lane.
Yeah.
It's like I got there, they're like, "Get your shoes, you're bowling next." I'm like,
yeah.
Because my first answer was, "I'm not bowling." They said, "We've already paid." I was like,
"Yep, you're bowling." They won't put up with that.
So I was bowling with a 11-pound ball, which is way too light for me.
Yeah.
Way too
How
light.
big?
11.
Oh, see, that's 11, 12. That's my ballpark right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm usually more of a 14.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not going to play 4 or 5 games. So I can go out there and roll a 14 with a decent amount of power. And then if I'm forced to play another game, I go down to like a 9. And then I'm just shot putting the thing.
The problem is when you roll with a kind of a light to medium ball, and you don't roll hard, you don't get any action.
No pin action.
Yeah, that's the problem. And that's always screwed me. Like, for example, Hose, he throws the ball like a howitzer.
Yeah.
And he uses a heavy ball, but his aim is horrible. But if he hits the pins, he gets tons of action.
My God.
I don't think Hose could bowl anymore because he's too mauled. Maybe he can. But last time I saw it, I don't think he could. But I mean,
probably shouldn't.
Bowling, tennis, anything we play that involves him throwing or rolling something, it's crazy time. You wouldn't think Hose would be like a real strong guy, but I wouldn't.
He's very moose-like.
Yeah.
I know that my daughter-in-law, when she got up there, I didn't know what to expect, and she was like, "Oh!" and it landed about halfway down the lane and bounced. I was like, "Oh God, we're so getting kicked out."
You got big hands, Larry.
She calmed it down.
Uncle Larry's got big hands. That's why he's a big hand guy. Speaking of ball, the big game is less than a week away. Big Super Bowl game.
Yep.
And you wouldn't allow me to talk about this with you before the show. You're like, save that for the show. Like, this conversation is going to be so solid gold that the money's going to pour in like it's coming out of a slot machine.
This is what the people are going to pay for.
But so this is an unpopular Super Bowl.
Teams, yeah.
Yeah, you've got the Chiefs. They're going for their 3rd in a row against the Eagles. Both these towns suck. So, I mean, I will go there. But let's talk about the actual teams. Both the teams are probably the most deserving of all the teams in football.
Maybe the Bills.
It's not a rumor. There's just a word of mouth that the refs have helped guide the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. I have no doubt that the refs absolutely did that. I believe I don't think they necessarily, this is some kind of cunning plan that they had to get the Bills or get the Chiefs there. But a lot of these calls have been not good. They've been bad, in fact. Bad calls that have screwed over teams that happen to be playing the Chiefs.
Thank you, Retro Jerry.
If you touch the Chiefs quarterback, ting, you're hit with 6 flags. It's just like 6 flags over Texas, 6 flags over that guy because you touched him. So there's no touching the money man. With all that said, who you got? Is there going to be a three-peat?
Unlike you, I don't have a division rival in the hunt.
Thank you, Jerry.
So
I will say I'm throwing that out. There are no division rivals anymore because the Cowboys stink. They always stink. And the division.
They went all in.
No, the division rivalry, that's all over with.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, it's still happening. Your team has been kicked to the curb.
No, but I mean, it's not like the old days. It's not even close. So I'm not considering that when I make my selection.
I don't think there's collusion within the ref organization. Now, am I saying that's not to say I don't think there are corrupt or people who can't be corrupted in the ref organization. I absolutely think that there can and probably is. Betting has gotten so big into sports. We're not even going to go into it, but it's ridiculous and
I'll get into it.
No, we're not going to get into it.
That could be a whole show.
But I am hoping that the Eagles win.
Yeah.
But I am expecting the Chiefs to win.
I'm really torn. I hope the Chiefs win because I want them to be the biggest heels in the history of football, to be honest with you.
Well, they got a long way
I
to
do
go,
like
son.
their coach, but I like him less since those insurance commercials he does. It's amazing how much go-away heat those have with me. I hate those.
When you see 8,000 of them, it hurts.
No, I hate the one where I hate him in all of them because it makes that coach look like a doofus.
Yeah, I know.
You think Madden would have done his commercials, and Madden looked like a doofus all the time.
I don't know, Aaron.
I'm just saying.
Madden would have done those commercials.
Madden was. I would go out to the bar with Madden. I would take that guy to the petting zoo. He's an idiot.
I don't think you should be digging up the corpse of old football coaches.
I'm not saying now. With all that said, I think the Eagles have a real good shot at it.
I do
for
too.
one simple reason: they've got the running back of doom.
Yes,
and that guy's all man and a yard wide.
Yeah,
and so I don't know what the spread is. I'm just gonna pick this straight up, no spread. I'm gonna take the Eagles. If the spread was under, say, I'm assuming the Chiefs are going to be favored by, 7, something like that.
No, there's no way they're going to get that much.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't
3.5,
do you know where the
maybe?
game's from? Just top of your...
Louisiana, isn't
Is
it?
that, so there you go. So I'm also sick of that. And so that makes me... I want them to
I don't have anything against Taylor Swift, and it's not her fault.
No, but I'm sick of it. If
but
you watch
it's not
the
her
game,
fault.
I didn't say it was her fault, but I'm still sick of it.
Well, then,
I'm sick of
then
it.
you hate the league, which is fine.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with the league. I'll tell you, I read this article, I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, about, and this is gonna blow your mind, but it was the role that the professional sports teams in New Orleans had with with some recent charges that were leveled against the Catholic Church there. I'm not going to get into this, but these guys were right in the mud. And I mean, there's plenty to hate about the owners and the teams in the league.
Owners, yes.
But when in terms of the league proper,
yes.
And despite the fact that you got a team going for a three-peat, there's more parity than there's ever been. Because that team going for the three-peat, it's not like they romped and stomped over everybody. They were winning at the last minute.
Yeah.
There were a lot of good teams this year, so the parity's great. So do I like the league? No. Do I like what they've got going on? Yes.
Yeah.
And that's...
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'm going to throw one more subject at you, Aaron.
Yeah.
The one that I understand you're not going to be educated at all on.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I know a lot.
Do you know who Fide is?
Fide, absolutely love that guy.
No.
Me and Fide go way back.
That is the organization that runs the world champion of
feet photography.
Chess. That's
Okay.
right.
I was close.
Do you know who Magnus Carlsen is?
He's a world champion weightlifter.
No.
Well, wait, strong man.
No, I'm sorry. I actually put up the wrong guy. No, I didn't. Magnus Carlsen is the he's
a super young chess champion.
No, he's a middle-aged chess god.
Man, you're right. I don't know anything about this subject.
So he has kind of broken off from the chess people.
He's the rogue chess guy.
Well, you know who Bobby Fischer is, right?
Yeah.
He's the Bobby Fischer of our time.
He's a world-class fisherman.
No. Okay. All right.
I know who Bobby Fischer is. I know who that is. Yes.
So he has kind of broken off from the larger chess organization.
Yeah.
Because first of all, he's a god. No one can touch him. He's literally a chess. There is no better. I personally think that, and I think most people think that. It's the best there's ever been, kind of deal. And he is trying to do this thing called freestyle chess. Is it freestyle chess?
Yeah.
Where they mix up the back row of pieces.
Yeah.
Bobby Fischer did the exact same thing. Literally, it's history repeating itself. Well, the World Chess Organization was like, no, if you play in this guy's event, that's it. You can't go for the World Championship next. If you play in this event, we're okay if you play in it this year because we already said you could. But if you play in it next year, that's it. You can't go for the World Chess Championship anymore.
Yeah.
There's a whole big thing. And the chess world was like, are you kidding? Get the heck out of here. So it has been a interesting back and forth between the players of chess and the World Chess Organization that has been captivating me for about 2 months now.
Man, it couldn't captivate me for 5 minutes. When it comes to chess, you get your big chess organization, little chess organization. I'm a big chess guy myself, if I'm honest. But I can respect a little chess, if I'm honest.
Aaron.
And here's the thing. I like the idea of freestyle chess. But, mixing up the back row is not what I had in mind. For example, you play chess on top of a moving semi. No. That's freestyle chess.
No, you want chess boxing.
Yeah, is that a thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I would.
You play 3 minutes of chess, and if you can checkmate your opponent, you win. And after 3 minutes of chess, you box a round of boxing. If you knock your opponent out, you win.
What I like is that in that sport, after the third round, you start playing checkers because your brain is tapioca and it's running out your ears.
That's an actual thing.
The checkers?
No, the chess boxing.
That's the stupidest crap I've ever heard, frankly.
Well, chess is an amazing thing.
When me and the boy went up to the house this weekend, we watched sports one night, right? We watched
sports,
but it was like off-end sports. We watched BattleBots. Some of that.
Okay.
Then Luke's like, hey, is that sumo? So we watched a half-hour sumo. I used to be a big sumo guy. So I know a little bit about sumo.
Yeah. I know the rules.
Then we watched professional, free-running speed tag. We watched that.
Yeah.
And then we watched drone racing. And then we watched the Red Bull, downhill cart challenge or whatever.
Oh, well, that's not a sport.
It's pretty funny, though.
It's
a
funny,
sport, as
but
far as I'm concerned.
No.
So we went through all the sports in one night. We had a good time.
That's a good run.
And that brings us right back to bowling, which is barely a sport, but it counts.
Oh no, bowling is 100% a sport.
It is, but it's not.
No,
it's a sport where huge fat losers can attend. That's why I like it.
But being a huge fat loser doesn't mean you're good or bad. There's still skill involved.
Well, sometimes you're bad.
Bowling has no luck. Zero luck.
I don't know
Everything
about that.
can be calculated.
I don't know about that.
Chess
has no luck. Bowling has luck. For example, what if the part of the bowling lane has a little nick in it? It hoses your ball up. Or what if your ball is going to nick?
That's bad lane.
That's luck. That's pure luck. And what if a pin just doesn't fall the right way?
Aaron, that has nothing to do with luck.
It does.
The pin action is all physics.
Somebody in there tell me if you think bowling has luck involved. Which has got more luck in it, bowling or chess?
Well, chess has no luck.
Okay, bowling has.
Well, actually, that's not true. Bowling, chess, depending on who goes first in the first match, has a 0.4 advantage.
0.4 what?
What do you mean?
What's that mean? 0.4? A 0.4% chance? What you're saying?
How much you're winning in chess goes from 0 to 12.
How much boxing chess have you played this month? It's
not nearly enough.
Listen, I'm done with this. Let's do the show.
All right.
Because what we're doing today has zero to bowling or chess. In fact, I'm not sure what the hell's going on.
I don't know. Mr. Do Run Run has a little to do with bowling.
It's got a lot to do. Well, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it, everybody, but it's something. Let's get the party started. Thanks, everybody, for hanging and banging on a weird night. And also, I appreciate the various weight comments. Thanks for throwing those in there for me. We're going to fire this thing up and get it through it. It's the Atari ST Show tonight. And then let me ask you, are we back for a normal schedule next week?
Yeah.
Before we get into this? So we're back in action on Sunday night.
Yeah.
That's all I need to know, brother. All right, here we go, everybody. Let's fire it up.
Do Run Run? Nah, I'm going to do Walk Walk. Next on the Atari ST Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of the Atari ST Show. This is a show about Atari's masterwork in the 16-bit computer, the Atari ST. Your good buddy, your good pal, Amigo Aaron, joined by the always entertaining the Brent.
It's me. Hello.
I see you got your Trucker Brent hat on
I
again.
do, because I lost my other one.
The green hat's gone?
I don't know where it's at currently.
Thank God, because that was no fun. Because if we ever chose to use a green screen, as opposed to doing this in a real field, like we are today, it would really hose up the screen, everybody.
It's remarkably cold outside.
You know, once in a great while, Brent.
Yes.
When we do the Atari ST Show, every once in a blue moon, you'll come across a little thing I like to call an arcade game conversion. Not too many of them.
Who knew that they even did these on the ST?
You know, because you've got Atari, they're kind of a big deal in the arcade.
They're okay.
And so you'd think there'd be a million of these, and there seem to be. And today's game is no exception.
And you know how much I love arcade conversions on old computers.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I like them. But so we're going to be looking at Mr. Do Run Run, straight from the arcades to your Atari ST. Now, before we get into Mr. Do Run Run, let's talk about Mr. Do in its entirety. Because that is a series that I think we both are down with the clown in, no pun intended. This is not the first Mr. Do.
No.
The first Mr. Do was Mr. Do,
yes.
Amazingly, which came out in '82. All these are from Universal, by the way, Universal Games, which we actually covered one of their games on ARG a while back, Mrs. Dynamite, which is a real fun unreleased game. If you haven't seen that,
which I believe Bajako gave me the flyer to. Thank you, Bajako.
That was awesome.
Get that thing framed.
So, just before we get into the game proper, you've got the original Mr. Do, right? And then that came out in '82. So when you saw and I went, no, you obviously weren't in the arcades in '82.
No, not by myself.
How old were you before you first went to an arcade? Do you remember what year you would have stumbled into an arcade?
Oh, well, no. I mean, I went to the Twilight Zone by myself.
Right. Well, I mean, you don't have to be by yourself, but how old were you when you went to an arcade the first time you remember it?
Oh, well, gosh.
What year was it?
85.
Okay, so well in by that time. So, but Mr. Do was probably still around when you went in arcades back in the day.
I do not recall playing Mr. Do at an arcade.
Do you remember seeing any Mr. Do's in the arcade? Any of the series?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, let's flash forward to when you did see Mr. Do, an emulation, no doubt.
No, I played him on different consoles and computers.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall where your original Mr. Do, or the first time you ever saw him?
It would have had to have been something on the Amiga.
Well, what about, did you play
or possibly
how about
the
Neo Geo Mr. Do? Did you play that one?
Absolutely not.
So,
I mean, yes, I've played it, but no, it wasn't among
the original Mr. Do was on a ton of systems, including the SNES, among others. So, I'm sure it's vivid in your memory. What did you think of Mr. Do when you first, because I know what I thought. I wondered if you had the same thought that I did when I first saw it.
When I first played Mr. Do?
Yeah.
I did, but I don't know. Oh my God, man, I would have been like 8.
Okay, let me rephrase the question yet again,
All
idiot.
right.
In fact, I'll start the answering.
All right, sounds good.
Permission to treat Brent as an idiot.
Hostile witness.
Yes. When I first saw Mr. Do in the arcade, I thought to myself, look at this thing. It's a Dig Dug knockoff. That was the first thing I thought. Because it's got the same perspective as Dig Dug. It's a vertical game. You go underground. Okay. There are little guys in chambers. It's very Dig Duggy looking. And I had that perspective for a long time until I really sat down, because Mr. Do wasn't my jam, as you would say. I never got into it that much.
I'd never say that.
But eventually I was like, I'm going to give this a whirl. I think the Chud may have spurred me forward to it, and then I fell in love with it. Loved it after that. It's been a big favorite of mine. Did you ever have the same thoughts on it?
No, I'm sure my first thought when seeing Mr. Do is, why am I playing as a clown?
Really?
Yeah. Because
you live like that. Why do you
this doesn't represent my life at all.
Yeah. Except for the ball.
No, I mean, like, why is the clown digging around in the dirt and dropping apples on people's heads?
Really, no one knows.
Yeah.
There's been no formal explanation.
Yeah.
I'd hope that Mr. Laziness game would have gotten into that, frankly. It never happened.
But, I mean, as I grew older, the Mr. Do mascot is brilliant. Because you can stick him in any situation, have people go, why is there a clown here? And that's an instant instant grabber.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good marketing.
So shortly after
Vietnam.
Don't put him in that one. Shortly after Mr. Do, a year later, in fact, Universal decided to come out with another Mr. Do themed game, Mr. Do's Castle, which I also love. This is another one that me and the Chud got into, had a high score battle, and this is one I played quite a bit. Now, is this as good as the original Mr. Do? No, in my opinion, no. But it's fun, and it carries enough of the original Mr. Do stuff over to make it a similar feeling game, if not a completely different game.
Now, see, in my opinion, this is the worst in the series.
Really? Mr. Do's Castle?
Yep.
Why? I can't believe that.
Never liked the concept of dropping the blocks on people. Just not my thing.
Yeah.
I never got into it.
I think this is a real fun game, but it's sort of a thinking man's game.
Okay.
Yeah, if you know what I mean. So I can see why you weren't into it.
You got to aim for the quarter slot.
The next one released would be the one we're going to talk about today. But in the same year, they also released Mr. Do's Wild Ride.
Yes.
Mr. Do's Wild Ride is the most bizarre of the Mr. Do's.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, it has the least to do with, like, the other Mr. Do's. What were your thoughts of the Mr. Do's Wild Ride, the roller coaster style game?
I liked it. I liked it because it was so out there. It is still third amongst my favorite Mr. Do games.
Yeah.
But it's so far above Mr. Do's Castle that it's hard to believe that they're even on the same list.
Well, I disagree with that. In fact, I think that's my least favorite is Mr. Do's Wild Ride. I don't like it at all. Now, rounding out the list, this was sort of released in the arcade, depending on how you look at it, which we mentioned it earlier. For all the way into 1996, it was a Neo Mr. Do and the Neo Geo. I don't like this one that much, if I'm honest.
It's for me, it's above Mr. Do's Castle, but just barely.
This is above Mr. Do's Castle, too?
Yeah, Neo, yeah.
Listen, don't listen to the Brent when it comes to Mr. Do's Castle. That's a big winner as far as I'm concerned. I'm surprised you don't like that one.
No, it never grabbed me. Now, for the record, the game we're looking at today, Mr. Do Run Run, I like this more than Mr. Do.
Whoa. Well, with that, we got to get into it. Let's go. Oh, man, here we are. So that was a provocative statement you made to Brent.
I know.
But we'll come back to that. Just real briefly, before we get into the Atari ST port of Mr. Do, I want to give a little bit of a credit to the arcade version of Mr. Do. Again, this was released in 1984 in the arcade. Was 1 to 2 players alternating, which is the same as it is on the Atari. It was also known as Super Perrault. You know, that was the other name for this game. It's funny, Mr. Do, as we mentioned, got ported to many machines, and there were also plenty of clones of Mr. Do, I might add. But Do Run Run, the ports were much slimmer pickings at this point.
Yes.
It was
their popularity never touched Mr. Do.
No. The only ports that I could find listed were the one we're going to talk about for the Atari ST, an Amiga port and an MSX port. Mm-hmm. That's the only ones I found. So how to discuss this? And by the way, this list now, so this is something else I want to talk about. I tried to find out what came first, Mr. Do Run Run or Mr. Do's Wild Ride, okay?
So they had to be developed at the same time.
According to the wiki, Mr. Do's Wild Ride was before Do Run Run. So according to this, Do Run Run was the last game. Now I've seen both sides of the coin here.
Sure.
So, and Wiki is what it is. I've always been under the assumption that Mr. Do's Wild Ride was, in fact, the last game of the series.
I had always believed that as well.
But
to say that, they were released so close together, they had to be in development at the same time.
I had trouble, actually, finding a month. So let me tell you what I can't find about Mr. Do Run Run before I tell you what I did find.
All right.
I don't know who made. I know Universal made it, but I don't know who programmed it.
No, this was in that wild time with Japanese programmers that they got no credit for nothing.
Yeah. I also don't know how it did in the arcade. I don't know how popular it was. I found sales figures for Mr. Do and Mr. Do's Castle, but I couldn't find anything for the last 2 games in the series. So I don't know how well it did. And I'm guessing for the lack of ports, maybe not great. I mean, Mr. Do's Wild Ride even has less ports than this has got. It's only got a port to the MSX. That's it.
Yeah.
So it was the only port it had that was an official home port. So like I said, it's hard to tell which was which. This game is hard to describe. I mean, I could read you what the description is, but it's hard for me to exactly explain what it is. I've heard people say it's sort of gotcha. Do you have can you put forth a valid explanation of what this game is?
I mean, at its heart,
yeah,
it's a Pac-Man style game.
It sort of is if you play it that way.
Yeah.
So let's just try to describe the play field in this. And if you're watching at home, I have increased the size of the Ataris. I've taken away the sidebar on the Atari game just so you can see how it matches up graphically with the arcade. This is a game where you play Mr. Do. You've got your magic ball, and you walk around a multi-leveled play field. And when I mean multi-level, it's not isometric. It's just sort of, you can tell, it's sort of like I don't know, there's not a whole lot of games that have this kind of look to it. They're just raised areas of the play field. You can tell where they're at.
Yeah.
And around all the play area are dots, just like in Pac-Man. So you can finish a level by collecting all the dots. You can also, but you also have a line that comes out from behind Mr. Do. And when you make when you complete one section of the line touching another section, like a square, you will get all the dots in that area will become a fruit that you can go get for more points.
A higher value dot, basically.
Now, you don't have to get the fruit, but you can for more points. You're chased by monsters. These are sort of like your traditional style Mr. Do monsters. There's like a guy with antennas. There's a snake. The snake has eerie powers, I might add, which we'll get to. There's like a helmet-headed looking guy. And as you go around, you also have the ability to throw your ball and hit stuff and kill it.
Yes.
Scattered in different areas. And by the way, these maps, I believe the Atari ST version I saw, it has 27 levels. All right, so there are 27 different play maps
that you'll never see.
That you'll never see, and as you go through, but sprinkled around each level are a couple traps. These are in the forms of a log. It's a straight out of like Return of the Jedi. It's like something the Ewoks would have set up. They've got logs that are set up that you can kind of run past. There's like a stick holding the log back, and when you go past it, that stick's removed. And the log will roll forward or it'll roll in the direction it's facing, because sometimes they're facing sideways. And it'll roll over anyone in its way, including you.
Yep.
So it'll absolutely kill you too. And I would say this is similar to the way the rocks work in other Mr. Do.
The apples, yeah.
Yeah, or the apples, just to say. Yeah, they will smash Mr. Do as well as the bad guys. Another way you can get all the dots. You can kill all the bad guys. There's 2 different ways. The third way, which you're not going to see very often, but it did happen to me, so it does exist in the ST version, is getting the diamond.
Yes.
Which will move you to the next level as well. In the arcade, if you get the diamond, you get an extra man. I mean, you get a free game, I believe, in the arcade.
No. Well, it might be able to be set up in the dip switches, but it's a ton of points, and that's it.
It's funny. I looked in the dip switches. You can actually turn the diamonds off.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know if you can do that on every game. We never owned a Mr. Do, I don't think. So I don't know if you could do that on every game, but you could on this one. So to add to the Mr. Do-ness of the game, at the top of the screen there's extra, which is a Mr. Do staple, and the little occasionally the little letterman will come out, or when you do a loop. Sometimes when you do a loop in the right spot, a letterman will appear. And if you whack him, kill him somehow, you'll get that letter and extra. And if you spell all extra, you get an extra man.
Well, that's close to what happens, yeah.
What do you mean?
Actually, when you do your loop, you can upgrade the fruit, and you can upgrade the fruit 5 or 6 times.
Right.
You can also reveal a diamond that way.
Yeah.
And you can reveal a letter. And the letter is just on the ground. And then when you touch that letter, that will make that letter monster come out of the top of the screen.
You're right. You're right. That it doesn't actually run around when you do it that way. But otherwise, and I will say, they will also occasionally come out at the worst possible time.
Yeah.
It happens to me so often, and we'll get to that. So that's the basics of the arcade version. Did I miss anything you can think of off the top of your head?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. The arcade version.
Yes. When you throw your ball, you don't instantly get a new one.
No.
You have to collect X amount of dots that will basically recharge your ball.
Oh, so that's how you do it?
Yes.
I thought it just came back arbitrarily like
No.
in the old Mr. Do.
And I could be wrong on this. I need to run some further tests. I believe you will get the ball faster if you pick up a higher quality dot that's already been looped. I think it takes less fruits to pick up the higher the value the dot actually is.
It's funny when it comes to the ball, because can you say with 100% certainty that's how you get the ball back?
Yes.
I can't, because...
there might be a slow tick behind it,
Yeah.
where eventually if you just set in the corner or something, you'll get it back. But collecting dots will absolutely 100% recharge it faster.
I will say, unlike the original Mr. Do, where the dot would just reappear at random times, but usually a fairly short amount of time, in this game, it's not a short amount of time, unless you assumingly do what you said.
Earn it. Also, in the original Mr. Do, the amount of time it takes for your ball to come back is directly related to how many times you've killed an enemy with it.
Right.
So the first time you kill an enemy, it comes back in like 3 or 4 seconds, and then that time continues to double depending on how many people you've killed in that stage.
One last question before we move into the Atari ST version of this.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever in your life see Mr. Do run in any arcade in real life?
No.
I believe, and Bo is in the chat. I think they had this when we went to Chicago, but I don't know for sure. I know I didn't play it, and I know if they had it, Bo would have found it. But I don't think I ever saw this in any arcades around here. I will say that. So let's talk about the Atari ST version of this now that we've sort of laid the groundwork there. Because, this is not an easy game to speak about. It's an unusual game. It's kind of complicated. Mr. Do for the ST came out in 1990 and was published by Electrocoin. Now, I'd never heard of Electrocoin except for this game, because this is one of Bo's favorite games. I had seen this in the past, so I knew about it. But the only other title they did on the ST was a game called Time Soldier, which I believe, isn't that also an arcade game, Time Soldier?
I don't know offhand.
I don't know if it's the same one or not. So this game was programmed by Martin Beisch. He did a decent amount of stuff on the ST, including Cave Mania. I like this one. Dennis Wheatley Presents a Murder Mystery, Exelon, Foundations Waste, Hellraiser, Hyperdome, the TMNT Coin Op, which I didn't know there was an ST version of that, and Viz. The graphics on this were done by Gary Felix, who worked on Exelon, Future Sport, Hellraiser, and Hyperdome. And the musician for this game was Wally Beeben. He worked on many of the games I just mentioned. He also worked on a game called Ball Game. That really narrows it down. Circus Games, Dark Side, Elite, Hammer Fist, Hawkeye, and something called Eyeball. Ball. So that sounds good to me. Again, this game will work on the ST, STE, and you need half a meg to get this thing cooking. Again, Electrocoin was responsible for all of it. It was the publisher and the people that actually were involved with the game. I got a chance to look at the back of the box for this, just because I thought you might enjoy the flavor text.
Sure.
Electrocoin, it says, brings the environment and excitement of the arcade to home micro with the universal conversion. Keep on running as our hero, Mr. Do, collects all the dots and fruits in this 3D adventure, battle against weird and wonderful monsters with his crystal ball, or squash them under the rolling logs. The game features a complete arcade environment, comprehensive animation and effects, and a wide range of different and compelling levels to complete. So, I mean, I'd say that's fairly. Do you agree with the comprehensive animation effects, and do you agree with the complete arcade environment portions of that flavor text?
Yes, everything from the arcade is here, and yes, it looks pretty good.
Yeah. So, let's talk about what the Atari ST got right and what they got wrong. For starters, once this comes up with a very nice Mr. Do picture,
Yeah,
and then it comes up with a cool logo screen where there's explosions of dots on it. Looks pretty good.
It's something, yeah.
You've got
There's nothing wrong with it.
You've got no options.
No.
You've got 1 player or 2 player. I did try 2 player. It's 2 player hot seat with the same stick, at least for me. Now, maybe you have to have 2 joysticks to get 2 players. Doesn't really matter. I thought I'd mention it. This game, the first thing I noticed about this game was this game features a picture of Mr. Do, sort of like almost like a side art on the screen to kind of give it that verticality on the screen, and the picture's quite nice. I mean, if it's going to be on the screen all the time, they might as well do a good job. I think it looks good.
It's pointless to be there.
Well, I think it looks okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
The second thing I noticed was the music was not the same as in the arcade. You had a whole different suite of music in this. Now, once you start the game, there is no countdown, there is no get ready, there is no anything. I mean, you are instantly in the action.
Yeah,
is no... I've never seen a game that gets you instantly in the action as quickly as this one does. You're instantly... I mean, it's just everything's going on. You better run.
Yeah.
Is the way it goes. So when this boots up, your first thoughts?
I was impressed. I thought that the visuals for this look... I mean, they're not arcade perfect, but nothing ever is going to be. Everything looked like they should, though. You could tell who Mr. Do was. The monsters all appeared like they should. The logs are probably the worst looking thing in the whole suite, but they still look like round objects, so that it's fine. In fact, it's better than fine. I thought it actually looked quite nice. The sprites and whatnot are basically the same size, maybe just a itty bitty bit smaller, but certainly manageable.
Yeah.
I thought the sound was off. When I say sound, I mean music, just because it was not arcade the music. However, it's still pleasant.
It sounds like something from the arcade.
Yes.
Not this arcade.
Just not this year, exactly.
It's got that sort of blaring. It's good. It's not bad at all, but it's got that sort of blaring, I don't know, audacious music that you would expect to come up during an arcade game.
Yeah.
It's just different than what
it definitely seemed like an attract sequence.
I will say, if you're familiar with the arcade music, you probably don't like this music. I would not be surprised if you...
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Again, though, I don't think this music was bad. It was just not...
It was different.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I thought about it all.
So, once you start your game, you are now in control of Mr. Do, just as we talked about. You've got multiple levels of screen. You've got bad guys that are relentlessly chasing you. My second thought on this is as you play it, the monsters in this they don't play quite exactly like the arcade in terms of their chase. These guys their chase is pretty relentless, but they're also kind of strange in a way. Like, if you're on a certain level of the screen, they may be 1 or 2 levels above you, and instead of coming straight at you, they may just slowly lower down and trap you at the bottom and stuff like that. So, I mean, I guess that's something, but I mean, it doesn't feel like the arcade. I thought one of the biggest differences was the attack of the bad guys in this. I could do better in the arcade than I could at this. Because I found these guys to be quite relentless.
Well, if we're going to get into it, let's get into it.
Okay.
Mr. Do Run, you move on a grid pattern.
Yes.
It's like a 20 by 15 grid. And the monsters will obey the grid as well.
Yep.
So if you are 1 down and 1 across, they have to go either down and across to get you, or across and down to get you. This is actually my second biggest gripe in the entire game, is the AI is not motivated to come kill you. They will happily, if you are walking left or right, they will happily walk left or right with you, regardless of what you're doing or if it has any benefit to doing that. And what I'm saying by that is you can have a monster one level above you and literally just run back and forth, and he will never come and get you. He will never go down.
That wasn't my experience. They would come and get you, but the thing is, you can't just keep going back and forth. So I don't know if I ever tested that theory. You have to eventually try to go somewhere, and then they could get, because since they're parroting your movements, they could get you quick.
Well,
how about that?
In the arcade, they will, if you are on a different line and you are just moving left to right, they might move left to right for a little while, but eventually they are going to go down on the same level of you and actually follow the leader, chase after you. They're not setting up traps. They're not trying to mirror your every move. They want to follow the leader. That's how they attack.
In some ways, they remind me of like the ghosts in like Pac-Man.
No, they're nothing like the ghosts in Pac-Man.
not the speedy ones. Just the ones like sometimes you'll just get away with getting past one when he could have caught you for whatever reason. But I mean, it's not like this is an advantage. But I mean, sometimes you're like, well, that's weird. So their patterning was odd to me.
Yes.
I guess is the best way to put it.
And the reason why this is a big deal is when you go up and down slopes in the game, when you go down a slope, you get a slight speed advantage over the monsters, and when you go up a slope, you get a slight disadvantage. This is, in essence, the core gameplay of Do Run Run, is to know when you can go up and down a level, and it makes sense to get that little speed advantage, to get out ahead of someone, either to get a dot, or to line up a log to fall down, and it's very nuanced.
I would agree with that.
Where in the Atari ST, you can run them up and down a hill until they're 3 spaces behind you. If you're not running up and down a hill, but they are when they go left and right, which is odd. It feels odd. The second problem with the AI is when the monsters from the extra letters come out in the arcade, it adds between 1 and 4 extra monsters that you have to deal with. In the arcade version, when these people come out, all of the other monsters start moving at half speed. They don't do this in the Atari version, which means all you've actually done is add 4 extra things you have to avoid to the gameplay field, and it's really hard. It's unnecessary. It makes you not want to try to get the bonus thing. And
I never went for it, ever.
And getting the bonus thing in the arcade, sometimes you get it just to slow down the bad guys.
Yeah.
Or, there's strategy behind it.
Yes.
Whereas this has eliminated that strategy. I don't want to give away my final thoughts on this too early, but I'm going to anyway. This looks like someone watched someone play Mr. Do Run Run and then programmed it for the ST. Because they got the graphics right. They didn't get the sound right, but they got comparable sound.
Yeah.
But they didn't get the nuance of playing Do Run Run. I think if I didn't know how the arcade played, and of course I played the arcade version, because it's an arcade port, you got to compare the two.
Yeah.
And comparing the two, this is so far lower than my expectations for how the port would go. I mean, they got so much right, but the feel isn't there. However, that said, I think if I saw this on the shelf in 85 to whatever, and picked this up, I would be thrilled because I wouldn't have had the intimate knowledge I have with the arcade version.
Yeah.
And I would have said, man, this is a lot of fun, not knowing how good the arcade version is in compared to this.
Well, what if you picked it up in 1990 and you paid full price for it? Would you still be happy?
90?
That's right.
Oh my gosh, that's so late.
Yeah, so that does change things a little bit. Ponder that for a minute. I'm going to just talk about some of the things you said, and I agree with a lot of it because, like, I play this game completely different than the arcade game.
Yeah, you have to.
In the arcade game, I go because this is, and I think this is what Boat and probably you like to. It's like there are many different ways to score.
Yes.
And you could really run up your score in the arcade game, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
You're trying to make lots of loops, and it's fun. In this game, I tried to kill the bad guys as quickly as possible. I could never get off the screen any other way. It was always kill, kill, kill as fast as I could. And that's not the way you're supposed to play this game. It's supposed to be a point-pressing game.
Yes.
But it's so difficult that it's hard to play like that. When I first started playing it, I tried that. I couldn't get anywhere. Something else, the snake in this game, just like the arcade, when he gets behind you, he'll convert like a fireball and shoot at you, right? This guy he's a menace.
He transforms faster on the ST. Yes.
Yeah, and he'll come at you fast. He's real tough to avoid. And keep in mind that, like, he can do it from across the screen. So you might not even know he's coming, but he's coming, brother. Like I said, the way the attack formations and stuff, you don't get a lot of play in this. And you don't get to have they don't exploit the fun parts of the game. And I'll be the first to admit it, this game has just like all of Mr. Do's, there are nuances and point secrets in this that I don't even know. There's tons of stuff in it.
You want to know some of them?
No, I don't want to know them now because I can't use them on here is my point. But I mean, when you lose that aspect of the game, and you're right, like part of the fun is getting spelling extra. That's what I don't even think about trying to do that. I would avoid those guys like the plague. And something else this has always been a problem with me in this game. Mr. Do's Castle in particular, there's a lot of structure around, so I can tell where things are going to go and try to guess and try to get to a different place to get to a safe spot.
Sure.
In these sort of abstract games where you can go pretty much anywhere, because with the exception of the fact that this has little elevations, you can. It's effectively an area where you can literally go anywhere.
Yes, that is true.
Those games are always difficult for me. I always have problems with those games. And this game's no exception. It's so wide open. It reminded me of some of the later levels in Crap Man. It's like there's too much freedom. Pac-Man should be in tunnels at all times. And so that made it difficult for me.
Well, and the AI had a lot to do with that. And I say AI very loosely. The patterns for the enemies have a lot to do with the difficulty of this. Because, like I said, it's normally a follow-the-leader type of situation where you can manipulate the bad guys, at least to some extent. And it doesn't have any of that nuance.
On the first couple levels, though, I could line the bad guys up pretty routinely to get killed by that log all at once. That was my move. I could get that most of the time in the first couple levels, then you're done. What did you think of the log rolling mechanics and whatnot?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
The pushing the log might have a slightly longer delay, but it wasn't too horrible. It's not like you ever do that in the arcade version anyway. But back to your question of what would I have thought if I'd have bought this in 1990?
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what this released at price-wise?
I don't.
Okay. I will assume...
Let's say $20 American.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go with that.
That's insane. So, if I was to pick this up in 1990, there has to be a reason. There has to be I have played this game in the arcade or other Mr. Do titles.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I would never even think to buy this in 1990.
Yeah.
Video games were so far beyond this at that point, it's ridiculous. Which means I'm probably trying to relive the arcade, which means I wouldn't be satisfied with this.
Yeah.
Man, that sucks so bad because I don't want to be down on this game. It's not horrible.
Yeah, graphically, it's great. They did a good job. I'll admit something we should mention. I think the hit detection, not the best. It's super picky.
It's not great, but it's okay.
And it also, Mr. Do, I'm going to say he sort of putters along. It's
about the same pace.
I mean, to me, he seems sluggish, and the controls on this were a little sluggish to me. That's me. I thought they were a little muddy. That's me.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I don't think it was enough to be a strike.
If they got the rest of it right, it would have been as big a deal.
Correct.
But they didn't. So
Correct.
It is a big deal.
So, man, I don't want to sound like I'm down on this game because I'm down on all arcade ports. You hate
everything on Earth.
If you're an arcade port that just tries to recreate the game that you're porting, to me, you've already failed in a modern setting because I could just go play the arcade port.
Yeah.
That said, I think this is an okay game.
Yeah.
I think if you ignored the arcade and you just got this,
it would be better.
But in 1990?
And I will say, just for the record, the MSX version of this came out in 88, and the Amiga version came out in 92. I have
92?
No, in 90 as well.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't played the Amiga version because I don't usually try. I try not to do that in case we ever get it comes up. But I would wonder how the MSX version because I think the MSX could have pulled this off. And it would be interesting to see how they did it over there.
They absolutely. You mean like hardware-wise?
Yeah.
Absolutely. This game doesn't ask for a ton.
But I mean, like I said, I don't think this is it's not, if I had played this in the arcade, if I'm you or Boat, and I'm a big expert, and then I come home and play it, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yes.
But it's a lot like a lot of arcade ports. Is it as good as the arcade? No. Is it fundamentally the same as the arcade? No. Is it in the ballpark? Yeah. And does it look good? Yeah. So that gets you a lot of points, in my opinion. Now, with all that said, the Brent, just a few tidbits about this that you might find interesting. I did find, thanks to Moby, they actually had a mention of this. This thing actually hit the UK ST charts in December of 1990, 26th place. Months on the chart, 1. So it was 1 month on the chart.
You know what that tells me? That tells me this was sold as a budget title.
Yeah.
And as a budget title.
Well, I doubt that. I doubt they probably didn't sell it as a budget title.
Oh, well. I think in a budget title at 1990, this would be okay.
I looked at believe it or not, I found some reviews on this before we get to Discord stuff. Atari Mania, the guys over there scored it at 7.7 out of 10. Pretty high score. ASM gave, and unfortunately these are both in German, but ASM gave us a 48%, and Power Play dropped the hammer with 45%. So they were not fond of this particular offering. Now,
I would say this is a 5, 6. I think that's a fair range.
I think you could say this is a D, and I would go with D, and I'd be okay with it. That's what I mean. That's a 5 is an F. A 6 is a D.
Aaron, we're not. No,
that's the way we do it. So we did get one review, one brave soul. Jocko6502 chimed in. He writes, I thought I'd played this, but I hadn't. It turns out I was thinking of Dig Dug 2. That's an entirely different kettle of fish there.
Far worse.
I bet there's not an ST version of that walking around.
I hope not.
That game was continue with Jocko, Do Run Run. It's a bit of a departure from the first game. It's still a bit Mr. Do-ish, but the game mechanics have been overhauled, and it isn't the shameless license slap that later Mr. Do games seem to be. FYI, Electric Coin are still doing that, so I don't know if they're still around or not. Overall, it's fun and allows you to complete levels in a different way. Kill all the baddies, grab all the fruit, grab a magic gem. So there are good and different strategies for getting high scores. It has all the components of a good point press arcade game, but I really didn't get on with it as it's quite clunky. The sprite collision with enemies is a little too keen. I would agree with that. Visually, it isn't bad, but it plays like crud. Wow, don't mince words. So I checked out the arcade version. All the problems with the ST and Amiga ports are gone. So you have a much more fun game that you definitely feel in control of. The music on the 16-bit ports is not great either. It isn't the arcade music, and it feels more sinister, if that makes sense. It has a more of a sinister flair, as does the box art. Now, I will say I think the ST is a better version than the Amiga, as I think it looks better. When this was your only choice to play at home, it was okay, but in modern times, stick to the arcade. Mr. Do, more like Mr. Don't.
Aww.
6 out of 10, Burial from Chucky. Now, I mentioned that we know a guy who's sort of the King Dong of this game, and I have asked him to chime in here. So if you'll indulge me, Brent, we're going to hear from our good buddy, John Bodekar Schaller.
Oh, hello. You've just caught me in a peaceful night in the study. Do Run Run is my favorite arcade game of all time. It came out in 1984, which I believe was the final year of the golden era of arcade games. Do Run Run combines everything I love about a good arcade experience. It's a single screener. There's multiple paths to a high score. It's got a rockin' soundtrack, and of course, it's got that universal charm. Unfortunately, the Atari ST version of Do Run Run is missing most of these features. Let's start with the good, though. The game is drawn very well. If you're looking at screenshots of this game, you could come away thinking that this is it's going to be a good experience. Unfortunately, once you start playing, the experience is definitely not a good one. The game chugs along at a snail's pace. The collision detection is very, very suspect. And the excellent soundtrack is not even attempted to be emulated. It's been totally rewritten from scratch and not for the better. So, I have to give Do Run Run for the Atari ST an enthusiastic thumbs down, and this is not Atari ST bias. I give the Amiga version of the same title the exact same score because it is the exact same game. If you want to play Do Run Run, fire up MAME or head to your arcade. This is John Bodekar Schaller signing off for the Atari ST Show.
There you go, everybody. The words of wisdom from the boater. I knew this was one of Boat's favorite games. I had no idea it was one of yours, but when I think about it, the Brent, this is your sort of shindig.
Yeah.
Lots of point pressing, lots of fun.
Yeah. And some fun things about this, some extra ways of getting points. The more your ball bounces off the wall before it hits an enemy, you get a multiplier. The more enemies you crush at the same time with the log, multiplier, up to a certain amount, and it does cap off. The fruits, every time they go, you loop them, it goes up in value. There's just a lot of ways to play the game, which I really appreciate.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not going to sit here and kill this game. It's not my favorite by any means because it's just not my sort of. I don't like the play field in it personally, but I can understand how people can get into it because of the point action. Now, this I found interesting before we take this to the house. I looked this up on eBay. Now, when it comes to finding Atari ST stuff, it's often you don't find nothing.
Right.
This game, I found many of these for sale. And the prices were all over the map. I found, and these were the box versions I saw. You can get the discs, $10, no problem. But the box versions, I saw ranging from $26 all the way up to $161. So there were some people fishing, but I found I think 4 boxed copies of this before the ST for sale, which I found odd. So if you're interested in picking this up for whatever reason, I don't know why, maybe it's your bag, then by God, you will be covered because there are so many of these. And it's funny because there were a ton of the discs too. So it got me on that one. Who could tell? With all that said, I think we can close the book on Do Run Run. It's okay.
It's okay.
Let's get on to the end of the show here. Now, before we go, we've got...
Thank you for that smooth transition.
That's right. Well, it's funny. I was sitting here thinking, how do I usually get here? And I don't know. Sometimes I just blank out.
Apparently, you get here with a semi-truck.
All I can think about now is bowling and chess on a semi-truck, thanks to you. Let's see what we're playing next week, or the next time out, Brent. Screw this. Let's get into it. A game I had to say I've never heard of or played. It's The Night Shift.
We've both worked plenty of those.
Man, I know. Also a great film, by the way, if you haven't seen that. Now, we will be back on the Atari ST Show the next time around. It's going to be March 30th. March 30th at 6 p.m. It'll be a Sunday, March 30th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back in action on Retro Rotation with the Atari ST Show. However, we've got something to attend to next week, the Brent, which is a little ARG Presents action. We'll be back around in the rotation. And next time out, Brent, we're going to be doing some game show games.
Yes.
That should be a lot of fun. Game show games, you've got a whole universe of choices there.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to picking something up. And I know you told me you'd already picked something. So that'll be dandy. So Brent's already, look at that. It's unlike you, because usually you wait till way past the last conceivable minute to pick your game. Listen, everybody, in case you're interested, we have announced that Boat Fest is coming in July. If you're interested in Boat Fest, check the notes at the bottom of this video. Or audio. I'll have the pertinent information for you, and the websites are going to get tickets. This year's going to be a big one. we got tons of time. This shit since it's not till July, so I've got lots of time to plan. But are you just quick before we get too far gone? Are you excited about the Boat Fest coming up?
I am cautiously optimistic that I will be able to attend all 3 days.
Look at that Nightbot. It's like it read my mind. It just
I think
signed
Super
up.
Tech Boy did
Thank you, Super Tech Boy. So I'll read the particulars for you on the radio. Now, it's Boat Fest, a.k.a. the International Retro Computer Expo, which pretty fancy name, international, eh? This thing's going down July 11th through 13th here in scenic Hurricane, West Virginia. For ticket info, check out ircexpo.net.
There you go.
That sounds good to me. That should be a lot of fun. So please, we hope you join us next week for Game Show Games and ARG Presents. And until then, make sure you play
your ST today.
Close enough.